mentioned female football wasn't around. You also had the other obstacle where you envisioned sitting in the stands, calling the game. But of course, there was no representation of women in the call space as well. Did that either be a deterrent or give you that extra hunger to go, you know what, this is a space that I'm going to really push hard and be competitive and try and crack into pretty early?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, when I was growing up and wanting to be a journalist and a broadcaster, when you're young, you don't quite think of those things because you're young and you don't really understand how the world works and you don't quite understand how difficult it is. You just have a dream and you just want to watch footy, and it's as simple as that, really. So, but when I was growing up, there were some females in the footy space, Christy Malthouse, Tiffany Cherry. In those days, I thought Tiffany Cherry had the best job in the world. In the very first, the first iteration of Fox Footy, one of my favorite TV shows was White Line Fever. So Clinton,
it was magnificent.
And Clinton Grievous was, somebody else I really idolized as well. I thought he was fantastic. And Tiffany Cherry was on that show reading the news. And I remember I watched every episode with my dad on the couch. And so I just thought, like that they had, again, the best jobs in the world. And so, I was lucky that, and, Caroline Wilson obviously has been around for a very long time. So fortunate that there were women in the industry that I could look up to. As I got older through my teens and started to think, there is no play-by-play caller at that stage. We had, boundaries and journalists and things like that. And so in the back of my mind, I did think, well, I might have to be the first. And then started to think, will it actually happen? Can it actually happen? So I guess when I was sort of a teenager, I started to have those, thoughts of maybe this just can't happen, and those sorts of things. And that's where, as we know, when Kellie Underwood obviously did it for the first time, I was a uni student, eating 2-minute noodles and and in a very small apartment in Melbourne at the time, when I started my degree, when I watched her on TV for the first time, and I had like a TV that was a cube. That's how
of course, and,
yes. Long before it was nowhere near a flat screen, let me tell you.
It was still black and was it black and white at the time, or you danced to color?
I'm not that old, but yeah, it was a very, very small TV, and I was just in awe, and that's how powerful and how impactful what Kellie has achieved and other women in the industry is that, when I saw her do it, it instantly removed any doubt in my mind that it was possible, because I thought to myself, if she can do it, so can I. And so that meant that, no matter what, I was never going to give up. And, every time I've had a bad day over the next sort of, 14, 15 years, whatever we're up to now, I just kept thinking, if she can do it, so can I. And so that's how massive her achievement and her being a trailblazer was, because it just meant that women like me were never going to give up after that. So that's how big it is.
Question I have in that space, though, were there other women perhaps in the past that maybe you've spoken to over the journey that had thought about it but saw the obstacle was very much like Mount Everest and decided to go on another path? Was it just a matter of persistence that maybe changed the game a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I can't recall any specific conversations with anyone around that, but I do have conversations with, a lot of women in the industry about how difficult it is, and have maybe wanted to go down one particular path, but, have ended up doing a different job in the industry just because, it kind of got, difficult, or there are obstacles in the way and things like that. So, I think it definitely, is difficult for a lot of us to, either not kind of stick to something, but to be able to go after what we want, because that sometimes there are just so many roadblocks in the way, and there still are. It's not easy to kind of to break into the industry, but there are certain roles that are harder to get into than others, and all of that.